Hey folks, how's it going? Today we are talking about the new Animaniacs, which is like definitely getting some coverage online. Well done, Hulu. Someone actually noticed you. First off, I thought it was odd that Hulu was the one with this show, considering it's the Warner brothers and the Warner sister. You would think it would be on HBO Max, but I spoke to a friend of mine and he mentioned that it turns out that this deal with Hulu was signed before HBO Max was really becoming a thing, so that makes sense. It's plausible, and I'm too lazy to find out the rest, so should probably Google that. That being said, I'll be real with you. Hulu is the redheaded stepchild of streaming services. You got Netflix and Plus, and HBO Max has been making a good name for itself. Hulu, though, which I do have, it's like, oh, what are you exactly? What do you have? Bob's Burgers, I guess. And that's about it. I don't know what the future has for Hulu. Though it's funny, it's been around for like a long time. I recall watching like The Office in 2007 on Hulu. So it goes back, and I'm old. So a synopsis of Animaniacs and what we're talking about here. So I watched the old Animaniacs when I was a kid. I was like a prime target. I was in the demographic. Though, of course, being Animaniacs, it was also a show where it did not talk down to its audience. Adults could easily enjoy it too, which is, in my opinion, like one of the best selling points of Animaniacs. It's smart, it's witty, it's fun for all audiences, and it's never pandering. It's not talking down to its audience like cartoon character. It's like, no. We got a good blend of like physical comedy and dialogue. Now, the old show was a variety show. There's a broad cast in the original, and you would get a blend of different episodes from different characters throughout the course of a single Animaniacs episode. Though they are the main characters, it was shared. Pinky and the Brain, of course. You got Mirva Mink. I forget your name.
Minerva.
Though I do not forget how you look. Buttons, Chicken Boo, Good Feathers. But in this new iteration, reboot, continuation even, it was streamlined. A lot of those characters were left out. Makes me wonder why. Maybe they feel like these characters wouldn't resonate well with the current audience. I don't know. I kind of miss them though. I miss Slappy Squirrel the most. She was wonderful. But instead of having the old cast, which by the way, they do address why they're gone. That's pretty funny. At least the show's aware. The show's aware enough to call itself out, to call out viewers and the general sentiment of what people are probably thinking. They call out Warner Brothers. Like there's that joke where it's like, on this side, we shot Batman versus Superman. Aw, that's great. I always appreciate shows and companies that can take a jab at themselves. That's a good bit of humility, and you need that. Works really well with Animaniacs, of course. So we have characters from Warner's library with like Gandalf, Harry Potter, Pennywise, big time Pennywise vibes in this one. Justice League, DC Comics, it's there. Like there's a lot of Warner properties. It almost seems encouraged, if anything. And there's even like Hanna-Barbera stuff. Again, I say old Warner. There's also, of course, like Looney Tunes. They're in that. The freaking Lunatics, that was a deep cut reference. That was in the episode. Wow. But where we have a larger presence of those characters, once more, the original cast of Animaniacs was reeled in by quite a bit. It's just the Animaniacs themselves, mostly, and then Pinky and the Brain. So a big thing to me was, of course, compare and contrast the original run to this reboot. There's 13 episodes in this reboot, one season. And I guess going into it, I was like, okay, so what are the big changes and similarities? And for one, of course, like the writings on the wall here, visually, it's very different. The original was like cell animation. Here it's digital, thinner outlines, widescreen. Looks a lot more cleaned up and just crisp. But it confused me at first. I was like, this doesn't look bad. It just looks different. It's still high quality. Advanced animation techniques and talent going into it, of course, by all means. This is not bad animation by any means. It's good. It's just different from the original. And I even watched some of the original episodes after watching the reboot, and I'm like, yeah, I can see differences, but it's just different animation, I guess, techniques? Not techniques, but I guess the way it's done. Cell animation's different compared to what we have nowadays. So as far as folks saying it looks bad, I don't agree. I think it looks fine. Looks good, just different. Now, the big thing to me, though, was the writing and the dialogue. That's what I was curious about, because I know that there's a general sentiment of folks thinking, like, what if this show is all political and pandering and trying to be trendy and just won't get off of like the political stuff that we're overwhelmed with in the year of 2020. And I don't think it was bad at all. So for what it's worth, Animaniacs has always referenced political stuff. They did that in the old show, and they do it here. And I don't fault them for doing that. If anything, if you're upset that the Animaniacs makes up a political reference in this new reboot, don't be upset at Animaniacs. Be upset at being older, living in an era where we're just overwhelmed every day with so much information from every single corner. From our phones and our laptops, the television, it's just everywhere. We're overwhelmed. And that wasn't the case when we were, well, at least when I was growing up, watching this. It was TV and that was it. Not my phone, not my laptop. It wasn't blasting me from all sides. So I wouldn't blame Animaniacs for that. I would blame the state of technology and media where it is more than ever before in human history. So Animaniacs is still just doing its thing. There were some things I'm like, that's a bit on the nose. That's a bit of a, But to be fair, one of the episodes where I thought it was a bit on the nose, like the Russian episode, even the Animaniacs like broke the meta-ness and they're like, yeah, that was a bit ham-fisted and a bit on the nose. And I'm like, see, they're aware. I like that. At least they called themselves out. And that also is very Animaniac-y to me. Yakko, Wacko, Dot feel very on the ball with their personalities, no drastic changes. They caught up with the modern time because they came back from 1998 when the original run ended for the show. Now they're being caught up in a modern sense. Reminds me of Rocko's Modern Life, the movie that came out in 2019 in that regard. But their personalities, their voice acting, just on the dot. On the dot, get it? It works. I think it blended very well with this reboot. And of course, like the globe-trotting thing that the Warner Brothers and the Warner sister do. There's an episode where they're like in ancient Greece, the Olympics. There's different time frames. That's very in tune with the original run of Animaniacs. They did that a lot, where it's like, we just put our cartoon characters whenever, wherever we want. Also, there's songs in this too. Now, in my opinion, I don't think these songs in this reboot were as good as the original. That's not me saying it was bad. I just think that the President's song from the original was like top-notch stuff. I still like listen to it every so often nowadays. But the real winner here to me was Pinky and the Brain. My God, was this general like concept from the 90s, it aged perfectly for nowadays. I think there was like literally no drastic changes at all for Pinky and the Brain and how it was brought along for this reboot. Like there's the technology thing, but that's always been like a part of Pinky and the Brain in its premise, where Brain gets involved in politics and world domination. So that works well today. It works well with technology, with drones and Teslas and phones and whatnot, and the internet. That works well. Because if you watch the original, he did the same thing with the technology of that time. So that worked and aged very appropriately. Also, like they dug a bit more into the like relationship of Pinky and Brain. That was great. Talking about their codependency and just how like, oh, is Pinky trying to hold back Brain? There's a lot of good stuff. I want to avoid spoilers, but the Pinky and the Brain segments were just perfect. Well done. And lines from both Pinky and the Brain where I'm like, I'm laughing out loud. There's a segment where Pinky's like, what's the internet for humans? And Pinky's like, gosh, I know, but I probably shouldn't say. I'm like, that's great. I think it was in episode 1. Automatically got a big laugh out of me. So the writing is sharp, the animation is sharp, everything is just on point. I really liked it. I think it's a very faithful adaptation, and I'd recommend it. You even have this really amazing anime battle sequence that was animated by Studio Yada. Yoda, I'm pretty sure it's Yada. And that was marvelous. So well done. I think that was a highlight for me, was seeing Yakko, Wacko, and Dot as anime characters. It's just fun. That was the most important thing to me, was could they be faithful to the original, but also modernize it and have fun with it. And I personally think that they accomplished this goal, and I hope they make a second season. I think it's worth it. Though I do wonder if they'll move it over to HBO Max, but I guess we'll wait and see. By the way, I just want to say, the best joke in Animaniacs, like in its entirety, both the reboot and the original, well, it's funny because I say it's from Animaniacs, so technically it's from Freakazoid. I hope that Freakazoid comes back. Freakazoid was one of my favorite shows as a kid. It is hilarious. Jerry Lewis, clown-looking guy. One of my favorite jokes, though, was when Freakazoid, Brain, and Wacko argued who's the favorite property of Steven Spielberg, to which they went to Steven Spielberg, and he was like, "Who are you people?" And they're like, oh, of course he doesn't know us. He doesn't care. Again, the show has got some wonderful meta-ness to it. Continues to do so in the reboot. And I recommend it, folks. Check it out. Tell me what you all think in the comments. I'm curious about the political thing, because I see these articles online saying, like, Animaniacs is missing the original magic and it's too much of an agenda. And I'm like, no. I think that we've just been ruined as a species with the internet and how overwhelming it is. And you're confusing that fault to being Animaniacs' fault. And it's like, nah, I think Animaniacs is just doing what it's doing and taking jabs and having fun. That's always been one of its motifs. And I wouldn't blame the show for that. It's just doing what it's doing. It's just doing what it's always done. And there's also plenty of episodes where there's no politics. There's no jabbing. They're just doing their thing, running around, globetrotting through time and space and goofing off. And that's always been like a lot of fun. And they capture that magic from the original. So, though I do want to bring up that apparently there's some drama with the original creator, Tom Ruegger, and how he was left out of this reboot, wasn't even told about it, and found out because Maurice LaMarche, the voice of the Brain, called him and told him, hey, sorry. And Tom was like, what? And he's like, oh, you don't know? Hulu's leaving you out of this reboot. And there's some drama there. I don't know much about it. These are just my initial thoughts. So, hey, let me know what y'all think in the comments. I'm very curious about this one and seeing what other folks think. So yeah, by the way, I do need to do a full-on video about the Animaniacs. I think there's a lot more to it. I need time to do my due diligence and look more into this topic, research it, get all my ducks in a row. Though I'll say this, though. This, though, is a much better example of a quality reboot continuation compared to, like, Powerpuff Girls 2016, which absolutely missed the mark and didn't know what made the original worked and went in a direction that just ruined it across the board. So, at least the Animaniacs reboot was not that bad by any means. It was good. So, yep. No. 0 out of 10. I'm sorry. This show sucks. 0 out of 10 because it completely left out good idea, bad idea. So, yeah, don't watch this series, folks. It sucks.